It's new shoe week and today we are looking at the HOKA Rocket X2. Will this shoe make me a faster runner? Let's find out. So I'm going to give you my first impressions of this shoe before I've even been on a run in them. Then later in the review, I'll let you know how I've been getting on, putting it through its paces. But first, a bit why I've opted for the HOKA Rocket X2. In April this year, I ran a lifetime best 5k time of 20 minutes and 15 seconds at Long Eaton Park Run. Prior to January this year, I'd never ran 5k in under 21 minutes, and I did all of this in a pair of Nike Invincible 1s, which weigh in at a rather whopping 408 grams in my UK 13 size. I flip-flopped between my Invincibles and a pair of HOKA Carbon X2s, which I got in November last year at a clearance cost of £80, but in all honesty, I just haven't felt any benefit from the carbon plate in them. My times in them were about on par with the Invincibles, but I certainly felt a lot more fatigued when wearing the carbons in comparison. I'm currently in a training block working towards a new 5k PB and I'm hoping to break 20 minutes, so I thought I'd give what many have called HOKA's first real super shoe a go to try and find those extra 16 seconds that I need to get there. Now, these weren't cheap, retailing at £220, $250 US, and finding them in my size of a UK 13.5 vastly reduced my options. But I managed to find a pair with a voucher code for £195, but they are still the most expensive running shoe I've ever bought. I opted for the ceramic and evening primrose colour as HOKA describes it, but we'll just say white, green and yellow. And straight out of the box, in the hand, this feels unlike any running shoe I've ever had before. The upper is made from what HOKA call a technical synthetic mesh, which is translucent and feels like ripstop fabric, if you're familiar with that, with its raised squares, hopefully to prevent any holes or tears. It's so thin, it's hard to see how any shoe fabric could be any thinner. It weighs in at a feather-light 288 grams in a UK 13.5 compared to 319 grams for the Carbon X2 in the same size. It has a dual density PEBA midsole compared to the ProFly midsole in the Carbon X2s and has a new shaped scooped carbon fibre plate. The outsole uses zonal rubber placement to give you grip where you need it and exposed foam where you don't, combined with a huge cutout exposing the carbon plate, which is probably where much of the weight of the shoe is shedded. It has a 5mm drop, the same as the Carbon X2, but it is higher off the ground with a 36mm heel and a 31mm forefoot compared to a 32mm heel and 27mm forefoot in the Carbon X2. The Rocket 2 is a bit fiddly to get on the foot compared to basically any other running shoe I've ever had, but once it's on it feels completely different to the Carbon X2. You really feel the sponginess of the PEBA foam, almost reminding me of when I put on a pair of Nike Invincibles for the first time compared to the rather firm carbons. The foam was marshmallow-like soft as I rocked my feet around in them. Most importantly for me, my arch felt like it was suited to the design of the shoe. Earlier this year, I bought and promptly returned a pair of Nike Vaporflies because my arch was just bulging over the side. So it was a relief that these might actually make it out of the door and onto a run. The scalloped padding around the cuff of the shoe is minimal, but it makes the shoe feel quite secure on the foot and there's no signs of heel slippage. Despite how thin the upper fabric is, the shoe feels like it hugs the foot, and with a gusseted tongue and no signs of stray fabric inside the shoe, I'm not at this stage worried about any hot spots or blisters. So I guess all there is to do now is to get some mileage under my belt in the shoe and let you know how I get on. So we have just done our first run in the HOKA Rocket X2s. It was a 5k park run in Alveston in Derby. It was a flat tarmac course. It was my second fastest ever 5k and I wasn't kind of pushing to go fastest. That's coming in the next couple of weeks. They performed really well. They were really responsive, a lot more than the Carbon X2s that I have. This is kind of what I expected a carbon plated shoe to feel like. They feel like they have the responsiveness of the Invincibles, but with about
a third of the weight shaved off. Very comfortable, slightly worried. I used to be in stability shoes when I started running, slightly worried when I'm going to something as light and thin as the material is on these that my foot will just not suit them, but they felt really secure, so stable. Didn't feel like my arch was bulging over the side. So yeah, first run done and a success. So on to the next one and we'll see how that goes. Threshold run in the HOKA Rocket X2 is done. I think in the warm-up pace, these aren't really made for going that slow, so they feel a little bit unstable at that 6 minutes 15 warm-up pace. And I'd say still getting up to that 450 per kilometre pace, they still didn't feel like they kind of came alive. I don't know whether that's just because of my conditioning or that they need to be turned on a little bit more in pace. So when I was running in them on Saturday at about a 4 minute per kilometre pace, they came alive a lot more, I felt. So yeah, still felt fine, still feel more responsive than the Carbon X2, and don't feel like I've got any issues or hot spots wearing them, so that is a bonus. Guess I'm still very much breaking them in, they're still a very new shoe. So yeah, on to the next session. We are at Abbey Park Parkrun today. We are going for a lifetime personal best. We are also putting the HOKA Rocket X2 through their paces. This will be about the third or fourth run I think we've done in them now, so we will get a chance to see how they perform with conditions not so favourable underfoot. We've had a lot of rain here in the last few hours, so the traction underfoot will probably not be optimal, so it's a good chance to see how the shoes perform in the wet. We're aiming to try for a PB today, as I've said, so we'll be pushing the pace, so hoping that the shoes give us the response that we need them to, and also give us the grip that we need to. A lot of wet leaves, a lot of standing water, so it'll be a real chance to see if these shoes give us the confidence to run fast in not dry conditions. So we have just run the fastest 5k that I have ever done in my life. 20 minutes and 12 seconds is my unofficial time, waiting for the official parkrun result to come through. But yeah, that's knocked 3 seconds off my lifetime BB, so delighted with that. Maybe breaking sub 20 in the next few weeks, we will see. So we are out on a long run, testing the Rocket X2s. My long runs have reined back to about 10k at the moment. We're doing 10k, see how we feel. So far 5k in, it's about 5 degrees, so it's pretty cold. I was slightly concerned that, given how thin the shoes were, that my feet might get freezing wearing them, but that doesn't seem to be an issue so far. Feet feel kind of as they normally would. Don't feel like I'm getting frostbite in my toes, which is good. Running along at about a 5 minute per kilometre pace, reasonably relaxed. The trainers are responding well, feeling a bit of a spring in them, so yeah, we will continue the final 5k and see how we feel at the end. And we are just about at the 10k point. We've survived, trainers feel good, been at a reasonably relaxed pace, so I don't think that's where these come alive, but I've been a bit ill over the last week, so I'm not in condition to do any kind of max out pace, but pleased with how they've handled today. And yeah, stick around for the wrap up.
So after 3 weeks in the shoes and about 40 kilometers covered, you've already heard my immediate in-run and post-run thoughts. But in addition to these runs, I also did another 5k park run in much colder conditions of -2 degrees centigrade, about 28 degrees Fahrenheit last weekend. I was going at about 7 out of 10 effort and the paths were quite frosty, and here the rockets came a little bit unstuck. The grip is not ideally suited to these conditions, and I felt like I was struggling for traction even on straight sections of the course. This definitely caused me to be cautious with my pace, so I probably wouldn't opt to wear the Rockets in similar frosty conditions again. However, as I mentioned in my review earlier during the 10k long run, I was still surprised, given how thin the shoes are, that my feet didn't feel like they were freezing. So that was a definite plus that I wasn't expecting. I've also worn these on a couple of indoor sessions on a curved runner, which is a manual powered treadmill, whilst training for a competition called Athex that I'll be doing this coming weekend. They've performed great, been really responsive and light, and they've given me the confidence to go fast. I didn't get anywhere near as much confidence in the chunkier and heavier Nike Invincible ones on the same workout, so I'll be definitely using the Rockets for the running section of the competition. And despite the challenge of getting the shoes on and off when I first got them, they have definitely got easier as I've got more used to them. They're still not the easiest shoe in my rotation to get on, but it's definitely not a deal breaker. So the Rockets are definitely staying in my shoe rotation. I feel like I've finally found my super shoe, and I'm excited about my future runs in them. I'm about to start a 16-week training block for the Paris Marathon in April 2024, so get subscribed for updates about how the shoe features as part of my training, and ultimately if it becomes my marathon shoe for Paris. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on the HOKA Rocket X2. But until next time, thanks for watching, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.